I'm back with more behind the scenes of the Waltons. Hope you're enjoying these videos, and if you are, I hope you like and subscribe and leave any comments below. I do read them, and I try to answer as many of them as I can, and then I take up some of your questions in segments of Ask Judy. Today I'm going to be talking about Eric Scott, who played my brother Ben Walton. Eric is a complete crack up in Livewire. He is so funny. He's quick, he's sharp-witted. He would have us laughing all the time. He also is not what you'd call quiet. I'm not a morning person. So when I had early calls, usually what would happen is you'd get in and you'd kind of go into the makeup room and you'd take your turn getting your hair and makeup done. Well, usually I was still half asleep. I didn't drink coffee when I was doing the Waltons. For one thing, I was only 14 when we started the series, and at that point in time, I hadn't gotten into the habit of drinking morning coffee. So I'd be kind of half asleep. Everybody would be pretty subdued and quiet, and the conversation, what there was of it, would be very low-key. And then Eric would arrive, and the whole volume would go from 0 to 10 immediately. And sometimes it was irritating. It was like, oh, just be quiet, I'm not awake yet. But he was just awake. He was a morning person. He was always kind of up and on. I don't remember ever really seeing him seem tired or lacking in energy or moping around. He just isn't that type of a person. And he's closest in age to me, actually. We were born in the same year. We're 9 months apart. I was born in January. He was born in October. So we actually celebrated his birthday when we were filming The Homecoming. From the time of The Homecoming, of course, he was one of the really vibrant redheads who really gave the truth to that 7 redheaded thoroughbreds. You know, he's a natural redhead and with the freckles, and he'd already been acting and doing quite a lot of television work prior to being cast in the Waltons. He just had great energy. He was a great young actor and had a terrific look. So who wouldn't want to hire him? So he came in as one of the more seasoned young performers, as did John Walmsley, who'd worked already. I had worked already, whereas some of the others had not. It was either their first job or one of their first jobs. All the actors at times flubbed lines, went up on lines, forgot them, whatever. The good thing about doing television is you can cut and do it again. There is a limited amount of time, so you can't be doing that all the time, and nobody did. But like all of us, there were times where Eric might have trouble with a particular line. I remember one time where he had trouble saying Marcia Woolery. There was a line that he had, and every time he got to it and had to say something about Marcia Woolery, he would fumble, and we did it over and over. And so that got to be something that we would tease him about. The other one was when he had to say practicing basketball. Just for some reason, it was a tongue twister for him, and he struggled with it. Every scene has a number. So say we're shooting scene 8. The first take, the wide shot, what we call the master, would be scene 8. And then you go take 1, take 2, take 3, take 4. Each time you went to another close-up, some other angle, you would add a letter. So it might be scene 8A, take 1, take 2, take 3. Sometimes when the takes got to be too high and it was just getting kind of embarrassing, sometimes to almost change the tone, a director would decide to change the letter. So he'd go, okay, let's just go on to, instead of 8A, let's make it 8B. And then we'll start over with 1, 2, 3. So that way you might end up with what appeared to be 3 takes and print the 3rd take. So it made the actor look better because it wasn't take 14. So that was one of those little tricks sometimes. I think it was the combination of it not looking embarrassing for the actor, which we appreciated, and also perhaps trying to change something that would change the energy and move things along. So those were the two. Sorry, Eric, throwing you under the bus there, but he has a good sense of humor. I think he'll be okay with that. I spoke with Eric just the other day because his birthday was actually a few days ago at the point that I am taping this here for you. And I asked him about the sawmill because I've had a number of people ask me in the comments about the boys, the men, working in the sawmill and how much training they had and how much of that was real. So because I never worked in the sawmill and I just didn't remember, I wasn't around watching, I asked him, I said, what was the deal with the sawmill? And he said, he kind of laughed. He goes, yeah, we didn't get a lot of training, but it was basically real. That blade was real, but he said the wood was movie kind of wood. So it was a balsa wood and cut very easily. So the side that you didn't see would just be like cutting butter. But he said that it's still, you were still working with the blade, but he said they spent more time doing things like sanding and nailing and things. So there wasn't a lot of really working with that saw blade. He said Ralph was a whiz at it. He did really well. Other thing about Eric, away from the show, is he has a really good head for business. I've talked about Mary was sort of our social director. She would help gatherers for things, whereas Eric would be sort of our business voice. So quite often, if there was questions about what kind of terms, what circumstances do we want here, often we would let Eric be our voice and we would let him sort of represent us. He has the best aptitude for it. So thank you, Eric. As a character, Ben had some really lovely storylines. He was always the go-getter, the one who was going to make something happen. He was very much an entrepreneur as a character and then became an entrepreneur in real life after the show. I loved some of his episodes. And then when he married Cindy, that was a lovely on-screen relationship, and he and Leslie became very good friends and still are, and we're all still very good friends with Leslie, and I'll talk about her a bit more in another segment. That relationship worked really well in the series, and she was one of the people that we really embraced as a character when she came into the show, and she just fit right in with us. So, and of course, Ben and Cindy moved into the shed, and a number of you have been terrific when I said, what was the deal with the shed? And there was no bathroom, and a number of you reminded me that when Ben and Cindy got married, Jim Bob got them a bathtub and different things so that Ben could build a bathroom on the shed for Ben and Cindy to live in. And with the shed, that was, the interiors were filmed on the soundstage. So that was why the shed inside always looked much bigger than the shed did outside, but they kind of obscured that where you really couldn't see how far back or to the sides that shed went. I particularly loved Eric's work when he was a prisoner of war in Japan, and those final episodes when, as prisoners, they escape and stuff like that. I thought he did some absolutely beautiful work there. And during that kind of storyline that he had. Eric and Joe Conley, who played Ike Godsey, were very close friends. At one point in the show, there was an episode where Ben and Ike have a little song and dance routine that they do. And Eric and Joe, in real life, Joe was also a singer. Eric and Joe put together a little act, and they went out and performed at some, I think, fairs and various different things like that. So I don't think, besides what was on the Waltons, that you got to see much of that, and I don't know that there's any particular footage of it, but I thought that was really sweet, with their little straw hats and little canes, and good for them. That's what I have for you on this episode of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. Eric Scott, who played my brother Ben Walton. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time on Behind the Scenes of the Waltons and future segments of Ask Judy. Thanks for watching.